I'm Becca Spence-Tobias with Conscious Continuations Doula Services, and this is the fourth video in my series on mindfulness for pregnancy, childbirth, and early parenting. This might be the video that you came for if you started watching this series, because this is on using mindfulness for labor and childbirth. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in this video comes right from the book by Nancy Burdocki called Mindful Birthing. And I really can't stress enough how valuable this book is if you want to incorporate mindfulness into your pregnancy and labor and childbirth and early parenting. It's a wonderful, wonderful book and very, very worth reading. So a lot of what Nancy talks about in that book is viewing contractions as waves. It's not a static feeling. I mean, nothing in life is static, but in labor either nothing is. The intensity, the feelings are not static. So the contractions come in waves. They build, and then they're there, and then they go down. And so each peak of intensity, each peak of this contraction is only for a few breaths maximum. And so when you feel like, I can't do this, I can't do however many hours of this, you don't have to. All you have to do is this contraction and this breath, these few breaths, or just this one breath, and then it's going to come back down. And another thing that Nancy talks about is being between these contractions. So if you're having an unmedicated labor, your body's creating endorphins. And so between these contractions, when you're not at the peak of intensity, you can feel these endorphins, and it often actually feels really wonderful. So if you can give up trying to think about the next one, how awful the next one's going to be, or how bad that last one was, whatever it is, if you can just be between contractions, you can often experience really wonderful moments of peace and actually very pleasant feelings. Another important aspect of mindfulness for labor and birth is that the mind and the body are totally interconnected. There's no way to separate what's happening in here from what's happening in the rest of your body ever, but especially in childbirth. And this is because the calmer you feel during anything, really, the calmer you feel, the more you're tapped into what's called the calm and connection system, which is the opposite of the fight or flight system, which you've probably heard of. But the calm and connection system is tied into a hormone called oxytocin. And so the calmer you feel, the more oxytocin your body's producing. And oxytocin is also one of the key hormones in making labor happen and progress. And so the calmer you feel, the more oxytocin your body's producing, and the more productive your labor is. And so the more calm and connected you feel during your labor, the easier time you're going to have with your labor and childbirth. That being said, you could be as calm and connected as humanly possible, and for most people, labor and birth are still very intense. So there are a few techniques that you can use, a few mindfulness practices that you can use to help navigate this intensity and be with this intensity. Some of them are zooming in, and some of them are using mindfulness to zoom out. So if you're zooming in, you can be really present with the feelings that you're experiencing in that moment. So you're really paying attention to the contractions. You're really feeling that you can focus on feeling the edges of the contractions. Where does it change? Where does it stay the same? You can try to find the center of it and just be really curious about the things that you're experiencing. Some of the ways of zooming out are to use the body scan that we talked about in some of the other videos, to think about what you're experiencing in other parts of your body. So yes, it hurts right here, but what do my toes feel? What do my hands feel in this moment? Really feeling what your hands feel in that moment. And it's not a distraction technique, because you're still being right here, right in this moment. You're just being in a part of this moment that is not the most intense and painful part. You can also focus outside of your body, but still in the present moment, on what you see, what you can hear, what you can feel, and then just on your breath. Coming back to the breath is always an option and can always be helpful. Another important thing to remember is that there's nothing that you need to do about this intensity. So just like we've talked a few times about the first and second arrows with worry, and then later we'll talk about it with exhaustion, you can just feel these feelings and just be with them. You don't then have to be upset about feeling them or feel like you have to react in some way. Just like we learned that there's nothing that we can do about our thoughts, they're just or that there's nothing we need to do about our thoughts, they're just thoughts. There's nothing we need to do about these sensations. They're doing important work and they can just be and we can feel them. Many women get to this place where they can feel this pain and intensity without feeling like they have to react to it. And it's an amazing place to get to. I want to be clear that these mindfulness practices are not just for people who want medication or intervention-free childbirths or people who have them. These are valuable regardless of the birth experience that you want or regardless of the birth experience that you have. It's all just about being right here with whatever it is and really experiencing the welcoming of your baby. I also want to point out that just watching this video, just in and of itself, probably won't be very helpful. If you want these techniques and these practices to be helpful, you need to practice them before your birth. In the book I keep talking about, Mindful Birthing, there's a wonderful 9-week program that's based on the 8-week program, the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. But this one, the Nancy Burdocki one, is geared specifically toward preparing for birth. And it guides you through practices to do every day. There are also audio CDs. Or if that's too much for you, you can just practice being here and being with your breath or doing the body scan for a little bit each day. And then try to tap into that during your birth.